Thank you so much for coming on. Who are you? What do you do? All of that good stuff.
Yeah, so I am Kourtney Vest. My day job is a retail mortgage originator for CrossCountry Mortgage. So I'm in the Dallas, Texas area, and we kind of run a division. I'm the marketing and development manager. I also am licensed, so I originate, but my main role is kind of recruiting other self-source loan officers to come in. We have lots of, in-house marketing, all of our value adds as a mortgage branch of CrossCountry. In the real estate side, though, what I'm more excited about, I would call it a side job, but it's also more of a full-time job. But I work for two wealthier investors. It's called MLC Developments, and we work on basically entitlements, so bigger mud, PID, TERS type developments where we are sourcing kind of typically stuff outside of the city and taking it all the way to that entitlement phase and getting it shovel ready for developments. So working with the different counties and municipalities for sewer and water and things like that to get really shovel ready lots to pass off to a DR Horton or a Lennar or something like that. So that's kind of what I spend most of my time on these days, is working on the big developments and kind of sourcing that land.
Cool. And if you wouldn't mind, what's an entitlement?
Gotcha. So entitlement is basically paper lots. So when you go and you buy a piece of land, instead of buying a residential home or a mobile home, or it's a actually here's 700 acres and we have papered all the lots. So everything's got surveys, it's got water and sewer. If it's an RV park, it's got all of the connections and things like that. And we basically entitled the whole property for developers to go in there and build their individual houses and sell them off as singles.
That's awesome. And I'm really glad you came on too, because this is a hot topic that a lot of people don't know much about. So somebody wants to go buy a big tract of land and they got to get it, they got to go through this process. How does that look start to finish since you're, knee deep in it?
Right. So the biggest part is probably finding the right land. So you got to make sure an ideal piece of property to entitle or develop is one going to be outside of your city limits. So your city limits, they have a lot of restrictions that builders, don't necessarily like. They have to have a certain amount of road frontage, a certain lot size, and things like that. And the hang up is, or one of the biggest hurdles up front is making sure that you can get water. So you're looking outside of the city limits so that you don't have those kind of restrictions, but being inside of the city limits, you get city water, you get city sewer. They kind of have to serve you because you're inside their CCNs and things like that. Outside of the city, there's lots of county water, county sewer, lots of different options on, building your own wastewater treatment plant or things like that. It's just a matter of knowing where the county lines are and things like that. So your first step is, finding a piece of property that might fit, and then starting to do your due diligence. So your civil engineering, seeing, or I guess employing a civil engineer to make sure the grading, there's not a bunch of big hills with a lot of rock underneath to where it's going to cost millions of dollars for a developer to come in and just get it flat, and be able to put houses on it. And then you want to make sure you are talking to the county. Like I said, we have a couple developments in Johnson County right now. So you've got JC Sud down there doing pre-development meetings with them. Do you have enough water lines out there? What size are the water lines? Are you going to have to, dig another trench and build another water line out to my property? Or is there water lines close enough? What's the capacity? And not to get too much in the weeds, but like, can you service just mobile developments or a trailer park or a single family or a multifamily, because it's all different based on project too, which makes it really cool to be able to source land, because it's like, oh, okay, maybe I can't build a single family development here, but I could definitely put an RV park, and I could put two water taps that could serve 200 to 300 mobile homes or RV parks out there, or like a rent to own type community. So lots of different options, but finding the right piece of land is mostly knocking on doors and finding owners that maybe have a big tract of land that aren't willing to sell. But our tactic is always to pay a per acre price. If you find something on the market or something's listed on the market probably already had due diligence done on it, and is not what you're looking for. But if you can go and find a couple, bigger tracts, maybe 25 acres right next to each other that people aren't living on, or they're doing hunting leases or things like that that are right outside of city limits, that is prime time. And most people like that don't have a number in mind either, so you can go in there and offer them 24 or $25,000 per acre. And a lot of the time, if they aren't using the property anyway, it leaves you room for really long contracts. So it's like, okay, I'm going to put in a contract. I'm going to pay you $24,000 an acre for your 200 acres, but it's a 12-month contract. So during that time, I can be doing the engineering, be doing the grading, and not have any carry costs, or not have to get a loan out, take out any money. The owner that already owns the property is letting me do my due diligence and be on the land. And a lot of the times we don't even have to close. We've already entitled it during that contract period. We flip it to a developer and assign the contract, or pay the original landowner out of the development.
That is badass. And I've also heard of people charging deposits for each of those after they get that done, charging deposits to help with their down payment, on the developer side. So it's a pretty cool business.
Oh yeah, and the huge thing is like mud and PID districts. So a mud district, if it's feasible and you can make the money work, is huge, because they are kind of pre-taxing or pre-deciding what that tax rate for the end homeowner that's going to come in. So you basically will work with the city, and you can put a mud, municipal utility district on top of the development. So just as another example, if I'm going to sell, here's a 500-acre entitled, we've already done all the lots, and there's a mud on top of it, the developer is going to get whatever we've decided. Let's say the tax rate is 2%, they're going to get 2% of their home, off of each lot that they sell. So they're able to recoup some of those costs before they're even incurred. And it just helps with the developers agreement. A lot of the city and the infrastructure, like you have to lay the pipes down and lay the electrical and do the boxes and everything like that. So putting a mud on top of it is basically the city and the county agreeing to get financial advisors and stuff like that involved, and they create bonds that are sold prematurely, and throughout the process the developers are going to recoup a lot of that costs in taxes, basically, or HOA fees, things like that. And as entitlement people, we can share in a percentage of that right up front. Okay, let's say I wanted to share in 20% of the mud. Well, the mud on a 500-acre development, it's going to take 8 to 10 years to build that out. So let's say, okay, I don't want to stay in the development for that long, I just want you to take it. So we'll take 10% of what we think it's going to be worth, which adds multiple zeros onto your profits at the beginning, and still being able to get out of the deal and actually flip it to that developer.
What's an average assignment that y'all are doing whenever you're doing this entitlement, getting these ready for these developers?
Bull. It varies. So if just because we don't like to fully develop either, depends on the type of project too. So if we're going to do I'm trying to think of the projects we have in the pipeline now. I have a 215-acre tract that we're entitling for mobile home, or kind of RV, not RV park, but mobile home park. And I think we we netted close to 6 million on, we paid 25 per acre, and then sold it off at a papered lot also, because you're getting, on a mobile home park, you're getting like 4.5 on average homes per acre. So, and that's how we're entitling and selling it. So I'm paying 25,000 per acre, but I'm selling it for 15,000 per lot, and I'm getting 4.5 lots per acre.
And so that particular project, y'all had a $6 million profit. How long is that particular project?
18 months.
18 months. So how much roughly money do you have to put into that deal while you're doing this entitlement?
On that one specifically, landowner wanted to sell outright, so we didn't get that long contract that is really helpful. So we did have some carry costs, took out a balloon payment loan of right around 2.2 million at the beginning. But we're able to, interest only. So we ballooned it back to them out of the profits. So we still netted, our gross profit was probably closer to 8, 9, paying back the carry costs and the loan. We gave the landowner a secondary lien also to give him some money up front, but also some expected money. Typically, if we're just doing entitlement on a clean cut entitlement deal, there's already water out there that we can get. There's already sewer. We just have to fight with the city and take a little bit of time. That's going to be like a 9 to 12 month runway for us to be able to flip it. This specific project, we also built our own wastewater treatment plant because there wasn't any capacity, wasn't any sewer lines or infrastructure for that out there. So getting the discharge permit for that takes about 9 months on average. So something like that, closer to 12 to 18 months to flip if all the stars align.
That's cool. And I love how passionate you are about this. This is awesome.
There's so much money too. I worked it. I mean, I've been in mortgage for 4 or 5 years now, and there's a lot of money in mortgage and in real estate in general. And then I just started this maybe a year and a half ago, and just to see the difference in, it's a lot of work, but the payout is just monumentally different if you're willing to wait. Also, a lot of people, they don't have enough money to play, or they don't have enough capital, don't know how to raise enough capital up front, or kind of secure those investors to get the land. But the game is working with the cities, and it's all a headache. But once you get to that finish line, the payoff is more than worth it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, so do y'all go to the bank and get money, or do you said y'all had some investors, right?
Hard money. So we have a couple I wouldn't say friends, but hard money lenders that we'll do loans from. But a lot of the time we will just do like one-off investors. So let's say we've got, we need to spend a quarter or $750,000 or $1 million. We'll have 2 investors come in, and we'll pay them, 20% if we pay them back in 6 months, 10% if we pay them back in 12 months, or, there's different kinds of setups. It's basically a hard money loan too, but that's just investors that are, I invest in our own projects. Honestly, I mean, I work operations for them. So I make a smaller salary and a little bit of a cut, but I definitely take, when I do turn some profits off that, I invest in our own projects because the return is 100%. We've never not paid an investor back, and it's so quick too. It's a 6 month or a 12-month hold, and it's 100% guarantee that you're going to make 10 or 20% on it. We have lots of investors that, especially working in the mortgage side for so long, and people that have been in that and have money and don't want to put it in the stock market and already investing in real estate. These are huge opportunities for them.
Yeah, that's
So luckily
huge.
we already have kind of that book of business for people that want to get in on it.
And not only that, when y'all contract these, you probably use an agent, right?
Sometimes,
Yeah.
yes. One of our managing partners is a real estate agent. So is he the best real estate agent? No. But do we have to pay him that 3% upfront? Also no. So it depends. We do have a couple agents not on staff, but that we have good relationships that are always out there. Like if you bring us a good opportunity or a piece of land that makes sense, we're obviously going to pay you on that. And it's a lot cheaper on the, because we're buying the land, it's not nearly, it's fourfold at least when we're actually selling it. So we're only paying that 3% as the buyer's rep, and then typically not having to pay the seller side for a buyer because we're flipping it straight to a developer. So that 3 to 6% on the other side, we're not ever seeing that.
I work with some entitlement folks, a couple of them, and they always call me to negotiate for them to get these deals so they could do. And I'm like, cool, I hate being a listing agent, but you're paying me my 3% when y'all do this. And they're like, cool. So the only thing I do is negotiate, and then they make some money. So that's really cool. You're into that.
Yeah, and it's nice. It's nice to cut that 3%, but it's also a drop in the bucket for if you've got multiple projects going. Like I would rather pay you all 3% to work on 6 projects at a time than rather than me spend my time on securing this one project. Like go negotiate, take a piece, and everybody wins.
And I wanted to bring that up because agents that listen to this like chase these types of people, chase the Kourtneys, chase the people that are doing this because there is easy big money if you're good at negotiating.
Exactly. Yeah. And if you're willing to put yourself out there, because like I said, a lot of I mean, it's almost all off market property. It's never just, okay, yeah, I reached out to this listing agent and these people aren't listing their properties. It's, again, hundreds of acres that has been in the family that you got to go knock on some doors and, at least warm up that owner for the conversation. And also, luckily, if any real estate agents are listening, our partners are salespeople. I mean, it's they know what they're talking about too. So as long as they can get their foot in the door, they're closers.
Yeah. And, also, and I want to hear your take on this because I've heard it from the people that I work with, but I want to see how y'all do this. How are you getting your leads besides door knocking, because it's not super scalable and y'all have a lot of projects. So like how are y'all getting your leads for these big deals?
A lot of our developers have contacts, and a lot of our deals, we had to get our foot in the door with the owner. A lot of those landowners know the other landowners in the county, or yeah, my brother, or yeah, my sister, or old Betty that lives down the way has her landlocked, brush hogged place back there. So a lot of it is referral based, word of mouth, people that know each other within the community after we've already started a project. It's just a matter of asking them for it, and usually we build really good relationships with the landowners anyway. We do partnership deals also, which is a really big thing, no carry cost. And it's a big cut at the end if we have to share it with a partner, but it's a lot, less work. We get reimbursed from the developers a lot of the time too. So again, if we're scaling and doing it in bulk, partnerships are a lot easier, a lot less risk, because if it doesn't work out, we never really bought anything or are doing carry costs or out that upfront money. So a lot of our projects come from landowner referrals, and then also realtors that you wouldn't believe. I mean, we'll have people from Austin reach out to us like, hey, I heard you kind of did this, or hey, I heard you just sold this project. We've got, this piece of land that we're trying to make work, but they don't know that they're supposed to be talking to the city, or they don't know how to locate, the maps to find the water lines, or that they need to do the water lines or the different options. So we'll brainstorm with them, giving value to get value is always the best way to get a lead.
Yeah. And y'all aren't buying any lists, anything like that, like people do on the residential side. This is all word of mouth, referral, all that stuff, huh?
We don't do any kind of funnels, pay-per-click advertising. I'm on social media, but on social media I do mortgages. I recruit loan officers, and I do residential mortgage. All of this bigger development side stuff is word of mouth only.
So say somebody and this is my last question I'm gonna prod you with, and we'll go to Q&A, but somebody wants to get started. They're like, man, I'm listening to this. This sounds like what I want to do. How would you recommend them get started?
You can always call me. Call me or text me, obviously. But I would say you have to have money to play too. So the best way, even you wouldn't be able to get started unless you had financing. So either finding investors, knowing some kind of creative financing. I think I heard about this through Apex. I know Apex does a lot of loan type stuff, but there's a lot of hard money lenders that this is all they do, because real estate's a really safe bet. So as soon as you can, and you don't have to secure financing, take out loans and then go look for land, but just have those conversations so that when you do find a piece or a project that you want to get in on, you can back it up with that. Okay, yes, I've already had these conversations about financing. And then another way is to partner with somebody that's already doing it. There's a lot of developers that want partners to come in, or people that have land and just do not want to spend the time to fight with the city to get water out there, or fight with the city to get sewer, or get permitted, or whatever it is. So if you can find somebody that needs a little grunt worker or needs a little help that you can partner with, that is the absolute best way to learn, is boots on the ground, partnering with someone else that you can learn from their mistakes also. Because
And
mistakes,
good deals find money, right?
yes.
Heck yeah. Nicole, what you got? You're up.
Hey, nice to meet you. It's interesting to hear the side of you, and awesome to see a woman doing it first and foremost. But I wanted to know, like, obviously you're spending a lot of money up front to do all these things. So what does your guys' underwriting process look like? And how are you guys so sure on a project versus like, you don't want to just throw away a couple $100,000 and all the work you're doing in the process. So what do you guys really look for?
So even if we have a short contract, like a normal real estate contract, 60, 90 days, we can get the typical due diligence items that we need: boundary survey, topo survey, and civil engineering kind of proposal within that first 30 to 45 days. And that will give us a good enough idea to figure, okay, yes, we can close on this property and it's gonna be feasible, or okay, no, we need to pass, or we need to pull out of this contract. And it is a lot of money when you're playing at such a big scale. Even the surveys on, let's say it's just a 25-acre piece of land, you probably spend $10,000 to $15,000 in due diligence. But again, a drop in the bucket for, you find out pretty quickly if it's not going to be feasible, if the city is going to work with you. A lot of the times too, when we are prospecting or looking for new projects, they are in counties that we've already worked in. So we already have those relationships with the county manager or the development manager of the county. And we already have talked to the water people and the sewer people and know where they're at. So that goes a long way. And if it is a project where we haven't worked in the county or we don't have any contacts in the area, we definitely go with a longer feasibility period, a longer type option period on the contract.
Awesome, thank you.
Daniel, what you
For a
got?
bunch of men too. I think I'm the only female that I work with on this side of things.
Like, it's a male
You're-
place,
Yeah.
so it's nice to see someone else that's up there doing so.
Yeah.
Yeah, to steal Travis's line, that you're pretty badass in what you're doing. So, and very inspiring as well. So,
Thank you.
yeah, absolutely. I lived in Fort Worth for a few years, but where I live now in Virginia is it doesn't have that dense of a population. It's more rural, and I'm just wondering, is there a place for something like that in where we're not seeing communities of 200 homes being put up necessarily? I mean, around the college there are, Virginia Tech, but outside of that, we're not seeing a lot of those types of neighborhoods where we live. So just wondering what that would look like.
Yeah, another cool due diligence piece, which sometimes we don't do later until later on in the process, is a market study. So depending on what project we want to do, single family, multifamily, if we want to put some commercial in there, mixed use, RV, there's lots of companies that we partner with. Zonda is one of the big ones that we usually use that will put together a market study. It doesn't matter what area you're in, but they will pull traffic in the area, family, what schools are in the area, and really be able to give you a picture of, okay, if we put a 4-story multifamily building right here, is it going to be lucrative? Like, are we going to have the demand? Are there enough families moving in? What's the trends in the market? And they will also be able to tell you, it's insane to see the market studies. They're like 50 pages long and sometimes boring to read, and sometimes it'll get you really excited about a project because they're like, yeah, there's a demand for this, and they want open concept apartments with single car garages, and this is how much space that they're looking for, so this is how much square footage each apartment needs to be. So if you're ever looking, like, especially in rural areas, there's still opportunity for even if it's bigger lots, half acre or acre lots, depending on what your county regulations are. A market study will be able to tell you they're kind of pricey, maybe $7,500, $8,000 to get the full market study, but it will give you the full picture of, here's how many families have moved to the county, in the past 10 years. Here's the size of those families. Here's the retention of those families, and things like that. So I would definitely recommend some kind of market study to feel out the viability of projects.
Absolutely. And when you said, so it's 24,000 an acre, that's pretty, is that a common amount?
Well, when you're talking about raw land in big quantities, so if I'm taking down a 200-acre tract of land in Fort Worth, that's a good 24,000 acres is a good price. But you'll have, so again, you're knocking on these landowners' doors and trying to convince them to sell. So typically we are paying above market price per acre
Okay.
to give them, that way we're not coming in as like, oh, hey, real estate, you know, everybody gets the sell your home at half the price and nobody's going to it's like, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
you know, first step is, what do you think your land is worth? That way, we're, you know, we're not going to overpay if they don't want us to anyway. But if they give us, you know, the 24, or let's say they want 23,000, like, okay, we'll give you 24. Give us
Yeah.
this 12 months contract. We'll pay you 24,000 an acre. We're not going to have to pay for it anyway. And we'll kind of pump those numbers up at the beginning to negotiate better terms of the contract, eventually flipping it at the end anyway.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Daniel, just find some $15,000 an acre land out there in Fort Worth and just make you a payday, man.
Yeah. And the zoning is super important too, because I actually live in Howe, which is north, like Salina, Vanna, a little bit north of Dallas. And there's, if it's already like zoned residential, here's an acre or an acre and a half of land in North Dallas, that alone's going for $300,000
Yeah,
Wow.
for a
that's
single
awesome.
acre, which is crazy.
Yeah. Thank you so much for dropping all this knowledge, spending time with us this evening. Where can people find you?
Social media is probably the best way to find me. I'm at Money V Mortgage, Kourtney Vest, Kourtney with a K, Vest, like you wear on your chest. You can follow me on Facebook. Like I said, most of the time, a lot of my social media presence is financial literacy education for, you know, realtors in the DFW area. But anybody that wants to partner or invest on bigger development projects, slide in the DMs, follow me, and I always post about our projects.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Heck yeah. See you.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.